Imagine sitting in your car in the freezing Kansas winter with your 5 kids, ranging from toddlers to preteen, watching smoke pour out of your home while firefighters work to put out the fire. That's what happened to today's guests, Grace and RJ. In 2016, an electrical fire changed everything in a matter of hours. RJ and Grace were working hard, living their lives serving God in their circles of influence through parenting, work, adoption, and eventually foster care. But that day in February took them on a difficult journey. Soon they found themselves plunged into a nightmare of fighting an insurance company, navigating a complicated legal battle, and living with their entire family in a friend's basement, and eventually renovating an abandoned house. Just as they were coping with these immense challenges, a routine surgery took a terrifying turn when RJ contracted MRSA and nearly died. Through it all, Grace felt an unwavering sense of God's presence, a consistent message that He would sustain her, even if He didn't remove their trials. Today, RJ and Grace are here to share how they navigated a season of extreme stress, witnessed miracles, and learned that sometimes God meets us in the fire, not by extinguishing it, but by carrying us through. Enjoy my conversation with RJ and Grace. All right. Welcome, Grace and RJ. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. I'm excited for us to get to hear more about your story, especially in a very specifically trying time and how you feel like God really carried you through it. Go ahead and just take us back to that night and describe it in your own words.
So it was actually a Saturday morning.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. Normally we would be sleeping in, right? We have a bunch of kids. We have 5 kids. So James and I were up eating breakfast, and the dogs were acting all weird at the front door. And I figured, we live out in the country, I figured there's a raccoon out there or something, right? And so I went over there and opened the door, and I don't see anything, and go back into the kitchen, and then the power goes out. So I went back to get RJ, and I'm like, power's out, I don't know what's going on. And so RJ gets up and goes to our panel. He's like, the electrical panel is on fire. And I'm like, what? Like, literally on fire. Call 911. And I was like, I wasn't processing, like,
no,
it's on fire. And he's like, call 911. Like, he's yelling at me, and I'm just standing here. oh, for real? Like, really, call 911.
She's like wanting more information. I'm like, all you need to know is call 911.
Fire.
And there's no smoke. There's no fire alarms going off. There's nothing. So, like, it was kind of surreal, because I'm like, okay, so I called 911. I'm like, I guess our house is on fire. And so then all of the kids are sleeping, and we had this big ranch, and the boys had an upstairs
ranch house.
Yeah, ranch house, sorry. So the boys had an upstairs loft room. So I'm telling James, I'm like, hey, go wake your brother up, but don't freak him out about a fire. Just tell him to put shoes on and grab a sweatshirt, because it's February in Kansas, so it's cold, right?
So Grace is getting the girls, and I'm trying to figure out the fire and the panel, and I open the front door, and now the house is on fire. Like, there's smoke billowing out the front door. So all of a sudden, the sheriff shows up at the front door, and it's only been like 2 minutes since she called 911. Well, he was on his way to work that morning, and he lived
down the road.
He had to drive by our house, so he saw the smoke. He busts through the front door. He's like, "Your house is on fire! Get everybody out!"
I know. And he's like, "No, like, you need to get out of the house, because there's, like, your whole roof is on fire." Like, oh, I mean, still it's not registering, because there's no smoke in the house.
Weird.
And yeah, so we're grabbing our babies out of the cribs, and
so they run outside. I've got to get the car. Well, James he had parked it in the garage the night before, and he locked the keys in it.
We
Yeah.
only
So
had one set.
we only
at
had one
that
set,
point.
right? So the sheriff has to go get his break-in kit. Help me break into my own car in the garage while the house
We've
is on
got, like,
fire.
Abby's stuffed inside James's jacket outside in the cold, and I'm trying to keep Libby warm, and everybody else is standing out. It was, and it was like you go outside, and I'm like, totally different picture than what's happening inside, because
Yeah.
the attic was what was on fire, and then it was an electrical fire, so it was all through the walls, and nothing had penetrated out yet. But yeah, massive fire out the top of our house.
Yeah, it was kind of chaos.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting in the car with all the kids. Like, so our house just burned. What happens next?
Yeah.
What do we do? Where do we go? We don't have any family that lives out there.
Right.
You know, we're 2 hours from family, and we'd only been there 18 months.
But yeah, you just are like calling people.
Yeah.
My house is on fire. I need some help. Because I worked for the electric utility at the time, and one of the people that worked for me grew up in the community, so he knew everybody, or his wife knew somebody, right? So I called him and I was like, I don't know who to call, but I need some help finding a place for us to stay.
Yeah.
And so he calls a buddy that had like a short-term rental for like traveling nurses,
Fully
and doctors,
furnished,
fully
you know, all
furnished,
that.
3-bedroom house. And so he calls his buddy, and his buddy's like, "Yeah, in fact, it just came open a couple days ago." So we never had to stay the night in a hotel.
That's
We
crazy.
were able to go straight into this
Yeah.
fully furnished house, and it just worked out.
Yeah.
But all three of the girls had to share a room, and you can imagine that was actually a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I want to hear a little bit about the insurance situation. So you were referred. Is that right?
I was handling all the insurance stuff, right? Because she's just trying to manage the kids, get them to school. Because now we're driving 15 miles one way every day to take the kids to school. So I went to the insurance agent, our local agent. So I'm like, I just moved here. I don't know any contractors. And she gives me a list.
The really crazy part is that they have to do like their little investigation of the fire, what caused it, and all that. So they have to close up everything to be able to do that. Well, they ended up blocking it off for like 2 weeks. So we had thousands of gallons of water dumped into our house.
For 2 weeks sitting there.
And it dried
2 weeks,
naturally,
yeah.
Which we all know causes mold and all sorts of stuff.
So we had laminate floors. You'd walk in there and water would squish up from fluorine. And because that electrical wire ran right through the ceiling of where the fire was, they had it all blocked off, and they didn't want any cleanup done because they wanted to preserve the evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember just with the insurance adjuster, because, you know, they go through and they are the ones that decide what all needs to be fixed. And I remember having a conversation with him and the building contractor. And I remember on the front porch saying, look, I've got kids with asthma. I have a daughter with a lymphatic disease. You're telling me that this is going to be a clean house when you're done, that we're not going to have issues from the smoke and all of that. I mean, I straight up looking at them, and they said, oh, absolutely not. Yeah. It'll be fine.
So I do the demo, and I'm finding evidence of smoke penetration through every single wall.
Right.
And so at this point, I had to bring in the agent, I had to bring in the adjuster and all my contractors, and I had to show them how the scope of the original adjustment was too narrow.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like 100%.
And when we opened it up, there was mold a lot of places.
Yeah.
Like
so,
walls.
And behind the vanity of one of the bathrooms.
Because it butted up with the kitchen where all that water had been done.
So you showed them all of that, and then what was the reply? Like, how did they solve that situation?
So I showed them the mold in the wall. The adjuster looked at me and said, that was here before. You had a leaky vanity. your vanity must have been leaking, right? And so what was happening was the adjustment was starting to get closer to a total loss. And he was fighting it being a total loss.
Let's fast forward. So you're living in a friend's basement, right? After the rental.
So we moved back into the house because they were done. They were fixed.
About that. Okay.
And then they're like, okay,
happened?
so it's up. You have to move back in.
So as they're doing the finishes and the house is almost ready, I'm like, we're showing up to check on it, and we're still smelling smoke.
Yeah.
Still smelling the fire. So I'm like inspecting the house myself. I'm crawling through the attic space. And one day I find a air deodorizer can
in my
attic.
Multiples,
right? And so my builder is trying to cover up. He smells it too. He's trying to cover up the smoke. So at this point, I'm like, okay, this is going to go south.
Yeah.
And I start recording every single conversation I have with him and the adjuster. And I'm like, I know my rights. You do it legally. And I'm like, I'm going to need to defend myself eventually. Yeah. So we move in July.
Yeah, it was like July 4th time period.
Yeah.
And I mean, immediately, it's summer in Kansas, so it's humid and muggy. And so, you smell everything from the attic because it's hot.
It's just cooking up.
And immediately, like we all smell it, right? Like it doesn't smell right. And Mia woke up probably 2 days after we'd been there, and she's the one that has a lymphatic disease, and she had probably a large marble-sized lump that formed under her jaw.
Yeah.
And
James couldn't sleep in his bed the first night.
He couldn't sleep because he couldn't breathe. Oh my goodness. So they were in the living room. That became their room. He had a rash on his leg. Everybody was having like allergy type issues, and your eyes are kind of burning, your nose feels off, your throat feels dry. And then I started having breathing issues. And so we lived there for about 6 weeks, I think. And I mean, we're like outside as much as we can, trying to find things to do. But then you're coming home and you're bringing your babies back into the house that nobody can breathe in because you got to sleep somewhere. And we had some friends from church that 2 families, they're older than us. And we had them over one night because I said, I feel like we just need people to come in here and just pray over us. Because we don't know what to do because we're hitting all these walls with our insurance company and nobody's listening to us. And it's just getting worse. And so they come over and, they're praying over us, praying over the house. They leave. One of them, he has asthma really bad. And his wife texted me and he's like, so he is really struggling to breathe after being in your house. Is that like normal people walk in and leave feeling like that? I'm like, yes, like this is it. Like the air is so not okay to be breathing. Like in the middle of the night, our kids were waking up because the fire alarms, and we had those stupid fire alarms that are all connected and they're like, fire, there's a fire. So the kids were waking up already traumatized because their house really did burn down. And then they're having these like middle of the night. And it's just, that's how much smoke was being kicked through our house. It was setting off our fire alarms.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we just kept hitting while we had an environmental test done, like an actual environmental company that comes in and does like your air quality test and
samples and stuff.
It comes back that we have the penicillin mold, we have black mold, we have soot levels that are in the walls. They said the soot levels in your walls are the same residual soot levels that would be left after like a forest fire. Just very surreal. Like what is happening? I feel like I was in a movie or a John Grisham novel where everything just keeps turning worse and worse, and this person's not actually a good person. They have connections with this person.
So they kept calling it a smell instead of like it was just total gaslighting from every single person involved in this, and it's us against the world. We have this prayer meeting with our friends, and shortly after that, one of them says,
well, you have to understand, friends is like...
Well, acquaintances.
Because we've only been going to church with them for like a year.
Yeah.
So we know them, but it's not like we're tight.
Yeah.
So our friends, now friends, acquaintances at the time, Bob and Christy, they're newly empty nesters. Their youngest one just moved off to college. And they said, you guys have to get out of that house. Come live with us.
Because they had 3 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a living room in their basement.
And we're desperate, right? I'm getting nothing from the insurance company. They're not going to give us temporary housing. They're not reopening the claim. Because what happened was we found that I had 3 different parties involved, and all 3 parties were pointing at each other, saying it's their fault.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm in this no-win situation. I have no money. I still have to pay the mortgage on my house, so I can't afford to go get a rental. And they're not paying for the rental. And so we moved into some acquaintances' basement.
So we move into their basement, all of us. We have 5 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The most they ever had was 3. And
right.
It was one of those things where you're like, okay, I don't know what else to do. So I guess we'll try it. I remember saying like, okay, well, we'll try. And I'm thinking this is going to be a disaster. But it was one of those things where God obviously was in it and he was making this work because it felt like a family. And we would have
family dinner.
We would have family dinners. Like I was home as a stay-at-home mom, so they both worked. RJ worked, so I would just take care of the house and I would cook dinner and they'd come home and they had a big old table and we'd just all sit around and have dinner together. And they are very loving and welcoming people. And they just make you feel like you're supposed to be there. And you have 5 kids that are like, at that time, James had hit 13 and Libby was not quite 3 yet. So we have toddlers running around, like they're getting into everything. They're loud. We do not have quiet kids.
Right.
And I mean, we turned their house upside down, but it worked. And I never, ever in my mind did I think it would take more than a few months because we started a lawsuit and we're like, oh, we're going to win. They're going to have to take care of things. This will move along so fast.
Yes.
Again, thinking, this is a sure win. We have all of this evidence.
I had a 3-ring binder, like a 2.5-inch 3-ring binder of all my evidence, right?
I mean, how can you argue? You have an environmental test that shows what's in the air. You have pictures of all the
from
mold.
The original fire. It wasn't like us being frivolous, right? We had strong evidence and multiple experts that were supporting us and telling us that, you've got a major case here.
Yeah.
In fact, we are in this frame of mind, it's going to suck, but it's going to get taken care of.
Right.
But it doesn't. And we're months into this and it's not fun living in someone's basement when you're an adult and you have kids and you're used to your own life. I mean, it's not my house. I have no control over anything. And, they lived right on the edge of town. And so I had taken a walk and I went and I was on the gravel and I was angry, really angry. And I remember having a very, very strong conversation. I have both my little girls. Who knows what they're thinking, but
that's fine.
They're in this double stroller and I'm bawling and I'm just angry. And I remember just having this conversation with the Lord of this is not fair. We have done everything right. And then I'm even going through we've also lived our life for you. We've done everything you asked. Why in the world are we sitting here in this space right now? And just so angry. And I'm really thankful that we have a God who is actually our Father and we can be angry and he loves us through it, because I was angry and I needed to be angry and process everything. And so I just did. I'm like, this isn't fair. I don't want to live in somebody else's home. I don't want to walk through this. I just want my life back. And I don't hear God all the time, this audible voice, but that was an audible voice to me. The girls were oblivious to it all, and he just said, Grace, I get it. I get it. And you just have to trust me. I am still the God that you read about in the Bible. Miracles still happen today, but I need you to trust me. And I said, okay. I mean, it's easier to say than do, right? This is still really hard. And he said, I need you to trust me. He said, I have a house for you that's going to feel more like home than ever before. It's going to be on the edge of town. You have to trust me that I can do miracles today. And I was like, okay. I'm not sure I really believed it. You know, like I'm angry and I'm like, okay. You know, thanks for listening. And I finished my walk. Turn back and go to the basement. And
So then,
I told him about it.
yeah. Well,
what did you think, RJ, when she told you about that? Because you're like, God spoke to you?
No, well, I was excited. I was like, awesome. Like, God spoke to you. That's cool, right? But yeah, I was in the middle of this stress, right? I'm just like, okay, I'm just fighting the insurance company. I'm trying to provide for the family. I'm trying to figure out a way out of the basement, right?
Well, and he had even said to me one time, he said, I'm not sure I'm ever going to get my wife back because I was a mess. Like, I was a mess. Like, every little part of me was on
I started
survival mode. And I felt terrible when he said that. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right. You're like, I'm just trying
he's trying to handle. Yeah. He's trying to handle all of that and not lose himself because he's the stable piece holding all of us together right now.
Yeah. And so on top of all that, I've got a 13-year-old boy, 14-year-old boy, 10-year-old boy. I've got these active boys, right? I'm in my late 30s or mid 30s, and I'm trying to be active with them. But I've got a left knee that has some structural issues.
Yeah.
Right? So I can't work out. It's hurting to play with them. It's hurting to run around with them. And so I'm trying to manage all that. And so when she tells me this, I'm just like, awesome. We'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. And you're just kind of like, okay, file it away and we'll see. 2 days later, we straight down the road and we were driving home and driving by this empty lot. And it's just overgrown with trees and the fields have been grown up. It's this old farm.
Like fallen down trees,
just
broken.
A mess.
Yeah.
Like it hadn't been touched in years. Right?
Wild.
It was just completely
wild.
Jungle.
Yeah.
And I said to Grace, Grace, I think there's a house back there because I can see windows. And then she replies to me.
I was like, well, this is exactly where the conversation with God happened. Like right here in front of this mess. That's where I had that conversation with God.
But she didn't know there was a house back there.
I didn't know there was a house back there. You literally couldn't see it. That's how much overgrowth and giant trees. I mean, like you could not see the house from there.
And
not at all.
So we inquired. We get a hold of the daughter that's managing the property, and she's like, well, Mom's still in the nursing home, and we're not going to do anything with it until Mom dies.
Yeah.
We're like, really? You're just going to let it fall apart even more? But God spoke to me.
Yeah. And that was like in the fall.
Well, I don't know what that conversation was with God, but I guess it's not that house.
Yeah.
So we just dropped it and then continued on in our crazy life of all this stuff continuing to happen. And all of our money is disappearing, right?
Yeah.
Like it is all disappearing.
Yeah. Still paying your mortgage.
Still paying the mortgage on the house we don't live in. So that's disappearing. Having to pay experts
to come and do things.
And having to pay, shell out all this money.
And living
surgeries and
total chaos. Stuff. Just everything was stressful. And RJ, you got a phone call from Brian, but
well, no, before that, the daughter of the property owners called us and said, hey, Mom died.
Just a few months after we had initially reached out. It was
after the first of the year. And we're ready to sell the estate.
And we're going to
keep it a private sale. Yep. We're going to open it up to a small amount of people who have inquired about it or expressed interest or taking private bids.
And we'll just take the highest profit margin, right? Okay.
So at that point, I was like, okay, this is cool.
But we don't have any money.
Like we're paying mortgage already on someplace we can't live.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I don't have any money for down payment. All my equity is tied up in a house I can't live in.
Can't sell it.
Can't sell it.
You know.
It's beautiful, but nobody's going to live in it, right? And I can't sell it without the disclosures of mold and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So then we're back to this whole, is this the house you were talking about, God? Because what do we do? Because we can't, there's no money here. So where's the miracle?
I had a friend that had his own business and had been blessed through his business dealings and had multiple times sold the business. So he had quite a bit of money. And so I'd been talking with him and staying in contact with him through this. He knew what the situation we were in, right? So then I had shared with him the opportunity of the house.
Yeah. And you shared my conversation with the Lord.
His conversation with, and so I updated him, told him that property was available and, all this stuff finally. And, so
just ask him to pray for us.
Yeah. Just ask him to pray.
Just pray because this is where we're at and we don't know what God's going to do, but he gave me a promise, and is this it? I don't know. So just pray with us. Yeah.
And then a few days later, my friend calls me and was like, hey, my wife and I want to help you get that house or that property. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I'll front you the money and then we'll figure it out from there. Cause we were like 2 days away from the deadline to submit a proposal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we talked through it with him, and he was just like, you guys just get yourself somewhere, right? And then we'll figure out the details later. So we submitted our bid.
The daughter that was the real estate agent that was doing all of that called me and she says, so here's the deal. You're not the highest bidder. And I said, okay. And she says, however, I'd really like to see your family there because this is where we grew up. Like we built it. We grew up there. I would love to see this go to another family.
When they were a family of 6.
Yeah, they had 6 kids. And she's like, so I mean, I know like we want to see it be loved by another family. And she said, so I think if you can go up a little bit, 10%. I think I can convince my siblings to go with you because it will keep all the property together. There'll be a family doing what we did. So they gave it to us, and the lady that we were talking with, she says, but here's the deal. You guys only have 5 kids, so we'd like to see you have one more so that, you just carry on the tradition of 6 kids there. And I'm like, okay. And
so we submitted, we bought the place with my friend's money, and I started the work on it.
And we're talking work. I mean, it was an abandoned house for like 10 years.
Do you have pictures of this, of the house, before and after?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'll get those.
Raccoons living in the attic. There's falling apart. A 10-year-old abandoned house. The property looked awful. The house looked awful.
But through this, I had a friend that was walking alongside me in this. His name is Gerald, and he had a construction company. So he had a lot of dirt working equipment and stuff like that. Like right after we buy it, the first thing he does is he sends a piece of equipment to the house. He called it Treezilla. And it was this big excavator with this stump grinding head on it.
Yeah.
And one of his excavator operators just literally cleaned up the house.
He goes from the top down and just chews it up. The trees.
Yeah.
Like you make a tree disappear. Right? But gets the property to the point where you can see the house. Right?
And is he charging you for this?
Well, he was like, I know you don't have any money. Let's figure it out at the end. Because we're still in the middle of the lawsuit. Right? And I'm expecting.
Okay.
And he kept saying, it's slow in my world right now. I'd rather be paying my guys to work on your property than sit in the shop waiting for me to send them out on a job. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So here we are. We have this blessing, right? This miracle.
But it still looks like a big old mess, and you're like, "What? This is the weirdest
and that is
miracle."
Blessing.
That's right. Yeah. This amazing miracle, right? And that literally was 18 months of
Blood, sweat, and
bust your
tears.
butt hard work.
Yeah.
Right?
We had people give us money, which is a very humbling experience because I would so much rather give than receive.
We had to sell some trees. We sold some trees off the property.
Yeah, who knew the property was going to produce like $15,000 in just trees? They came and harvested all these giant walnut trees and wrote us a check for, I don't know, it was like $12,000 or something. And
so that got us like, oh, sweet, I can actually put an HVAC in.
Right.
Yeah, like it was like timing, like it was ready for HVAC, and like sold some trees. So then I was able to.
So God kept showing up, right? He's like, and here's the next
like, it sounds like it's like manna. It's
like totally was.
Here's what you need.
So like this one, like check this one out. So the HVAC's ready, and I've got all the structural stuff done on the inside that we needed to do. But it's still bare 2x4s. And the trees paid for the HVAC and the insulation.
So we had insulation put in.
And when I called the insulation company, they were like, well, normally it would be such and such because they were like from 2 hours away.
Yeah.
But we're already doing a job in town, literally in our town.
This is little tiny town out in the middle of
nowhere. And so if we can do it this weekend, we won't charge you transportation fees. I was like, okay. So I got my spray foam insulation done for like half the price.
Yeah.
I mean, just little things like this.
We had a crew from my hometown.
Sheetrock party.
They brought some people from their church out, and they just sheetrocked all weekend with us. And we had lots of stories of just people that were like, hey, our church crew wants to come help you tear down. Our church crew wants to feed you. Just all the time. All the time. You get really used to the humbling experience of receiving things after that.
Yeah, I was going to say, did it start to get more comfortable, or was it always uncomfortable each time?
It's always hard. It was just like you start feeling really, you're really grateful, but it's like, this is so hard. Yeah. I remember one of my friends saying, when I was talking about, I hate taking from people. I don't want to do this anymore. And she's like, but would you do it for them?
Right.
Yes, I would. And she goes, have you? Think of so many times you have helped people. And I'm like, yep. She goes, don't take the blessing away from what
somebody else.
They are wanting to bless you, just like you wanted to bless other people. Let them do that. I guess I'm just going to sit in this space of receiving. And I did. And it's very humbling. But that's the only way that we could have ever done any of that. Was because of the people who were willing to bless us and sacrifice for us. And some of them didn't know us. And somehow it worked and we got all this stuff done. But then we get to RJ having knee surgery in the middle of this.
Yeah, in the middle.
Right, because you're doing construction. And are you in pain every day?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I don't have any cartilage between my kneecap and my femur, right? My main knee bone or leg bone. So every time I bend, every time I run, it's just grinding, right? He's like, well, you're kind of out of options, but there is this one type of surgery we could do that kind of is going to relieve some pressure in your knee. I was like, okay, listen, I'm in my 30s still. I can't run and play with my kids. It hurts. So I'm desperate. Let's do something. So they go in, they do the surgery, and I'm feeling good, right? But I have a nerve block still, like the day after surgery, 2 days after surgery. And things don't start healing. And things actually start getting worse.
When you're a mom and a wife, you just pick up on things, right? I'm like, you're not okay. And then I think you have a fever. And
one day I remember she comes down and looks at my leg and she's like, yeah, I think
you go to the hospital. You should probably go get it checked. And so we go to the local hospital, and he was in and out of our local hospital a few times.
2 or 3 times.
And I'm trying to manage that on top of, I mean, this is stress upon stress upon stress because we're still in the legal battle. We are working on a house that's needing to be completely demoed and rebuilt. I have 5 kids. Sports, school, like all of that
Right.
stuff, right?
All the regular stuff.
So much stress. And I had another moment with the Lord and I like was basically saying, I cannot do any more of this. Can't. Like I can't. And he says, I will sustain you. I'm like, cool. What does that mean? And I'm looking up sustain and I'm like, God, that means that there's more of this because that's not an easy word. That means you're going to hold me up through all of the hard yet to come. And I was like, I can't do any more of this. I will sustain you. I'm like, okay, because I can't do this. Like I'm literally falling apart. And also like little things, like I would show up to church and people are saying, oh, is RJ still not well? And he's still in the hospital. And I'm like, yeah, no, he's still in hospital or he's super sick still. And I just remember wanting to scream at church, like, I am not okay. I'm not okay. I don't know what's happening with my husband. I don't know what's happening with our lawsuit. I don't know what's happening with our house. I'm not okay. And I just had to hold it together and pretend. Like, I just felt like I was pretending to be fine, right? Yeah. And he goes to the follow-up.
I'm in the follow-up, and I'm waiting for the nurse practitioner to come in. I have rashes, all like my entire body's a hive. I'm itching.
Yeah.
But so the nurse practitioner comes in and he's all excited because he's seen me for the first time after surgery. I should be doing good.
Like, he's
like, how's it going? How you feeling? And I was like, I want to die. I'm absolutely miserable. Yeah. And he kind of has his back to me, and it surprised him. And he was like, what? And he turns around to me, and I'm like, I'm white.
He looked sick. Like he looked sick.
My leg looks terrible. And then he was just like, gets this like calm panic look on his face. He's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And I show him my hives and he's like, now gets really panicky.
And his leg is enormous and red.
So they scheduled me for emergency surgery the next day.
So, and it's like, you know, we're coming home at night the night before, and I need to be back in the morning. And in all of this, I don't want the kids to be freaked out, right? Because I don't want them to be afraid because they've already lived through hell, basically, right? They've lived through a nightmare of the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to protect them. And so, yeah, I mean, I have so-and-so picking up these kids, and then so-and-so's taking the car seats to school with them so that the other person can come get the car seats and then pick up the little kids, and then you're tossing all these kids around.
And I'm in so much pain. I have to crutch to the bathroom. And by the time I crutch to the bathroom and get back to the room, I'm like shaking. Like my whole body's going into convulsions. It hurts so bad. I'm like shutting down. And that's when the nurses do that whole, everything's going to be okay.
And I'm like, no, it's not. I see that in your face.
So Grace is like in this, like, I see her go into checkout mode. Like, I can't handle it.
It's too much.
She's not looking at me. She's not even like paying attention to me. She has to just like block it out.
Because
that's when
I'm going to lose. Like
Yeah.
I've never quite felt like that before. Of like, I might break.
Yeah.
Like I might break. I can't. Because and then when the nurses are talking about like possible going into septic and all of this stuff, I'm like, I am losing my husband. Like I really thought he was dying, and I was sitting there trying really hard to hold it together because I felt like I felt like I was going to break into a million pieces because I didn't have a house, I didn't have any money, and the stability of my life was my husband, and I thought he was dying in front of me, and I couldn't do anything. And I have all these kids at home that I don't even know where they're at because who's taking care of who, and I was like, this is not the miracle I thought that God was going to provide. And then again, he's like,
or the sustaining.
I will sustain you. He like said it again. And he's like, I will sustain you. And I'm like, okay, I can't go through anymore. Like if my husband doesn't make it through this, I I don't know that you can sustain me through that. I just don't think there'll be anything left, you know? So he has a surgery and he's not okay. Like even
they find
after.
so they find that I got
MRSA.
MRSA, which is like the worst type of infection you can get, right? It's a medically resistant infection, basically, right? So they like were using tools to scrape gunk
as
out
much
of the
as they
inside of my
could.
leg. But I'm gonna have to stay in the hospital for a few days
because they don't know how he's going to respond, and MRSA's bad. So that was one surgery. It didn't work officially.
Well, it worked, but they were like, "Yeah, we need to go back
to clean out again
and do a double clean out."
So we had to go back in, clean out again, and then it was still all this time of having to do the drip antibiotics, and like it was not done even when we were like, okay, you're not dying anymore. And at one point the infectious disease doctor was like, we're not, what did she say, something about amputation, you're not quite to the amputation level, but it's not out of the picture yet, or something. Like, you know, it was not over. Again, I just kept hearing God say, I'm going to sustain you. And I had this conversation of him of like, you know, because I'm sitting here going, great, but why is this happening? Like, we've had enough. Enough is enough. Like, come on. What is there left to sustain me through? And he says, Grace, I am a really good father because I'm right there with you when you're walking through the painful, awful, scary stuff. I am right there with the family who got in the car accident and they're not going to make it. I'm right there with them, Grace. And he said, I'm right there with the person who gets the positive cancer result. I'm right there with them. That's why I'm a really good father and why you can praise me, because I never left you and I never will. And I'm going to sit there with you through the rest of this. I am going to sustain you through the rest of what comes in your life right now, because I am a really good father. Can you praise me in the midst of that? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, oh, that's really hard. And he walked me through like everything from the day of the fire. And he's like, I've been there since the very, very beginning. And I'm not leaving you. I'm going to sustain you. Can you praise me in the midst of all of this? And it was a very eye-opening thing for me to realize, like, I thought I had a really solid relationship with the Lord prior to all of this. Always been a believer, always spent time in the Word. You know, I had this good relationship with God. And I realized I had only been scratching the surface level because I had never had to rely on him like I was relying on him in that moment. And it was a very big shift on how I understood the love of the Heavenly Father and his presence in my life. And I don't think I've been the same since. I mean, I remember walking into church shortly after that conversation and thinking, how many more people are sitting here in church today and their lives are falling apart too? Like,
and nobody's
talking about it, right? Like, nobody's talking about it. Everybody's saying, how are you? Great. How are you? Good. Okay, let's go sit in our seat. And I'm like, this is not how it's supposed to be. And I need to be sharing how awful life is, but God, right? Yeah. Because that's the reality of Christian life, is understanding that the world sucks, circumstances suck. We're not protected from anything but God. Yeah. We need to be talking about this stuff. We need to be real with each other, because that's the real testimony of who our Heavenly Father is. For those non-believers who are coming in and looking at our life, if they see the perfect life, they're like, I can't fit into that picture. My life's a mess. I can't do that. But if they see my life as a mess, but I'm still walking with the Lord and he's showing up and giving me the strength to keep moving, like, what a testimony that is of who God really is. And
what it truly means to walk with Christ. Right? Because I think so many times the church says you walk with Christ and life is perfect, right? This journey of, being a Christ follower is, if you're doing it right, it should be blessings, 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 blessings.
And praise God
and
for
praise
all
God
those
because of the
blessings,
blessings.
you know?
And it's
Which
like,
you do.
yes,
You do praise him for those.
we saw all the blessings through this entire mess, and we're still seeing it, right? Because that's not the end of the story. But, but it was still ugly. It was still heavy. It was still work. It was still stressful, right? It's not like God took it away, all the stress away from us.
Yes.
It was like blessings and stress. Like so many times as Christ followers, we pray about our circumstances, right? But so many times I hear the prayer is, God, take this away from me, right? Relieve this pain from me. Like, get me out of this, right? Instead of, God, where are you and what do you want me to learn through this? Right? Because in our lives, it's been, the lesson is in the pain. The lesson is in the stress. The growth is in the stress. And the dependence is in the sustaining through the hard times, right? Because God promised grace to sustain her, not relieve her.
Whoa. Blessings and stress, sustaining, but not relief. I feel like these are the experiences that I've had walking with God. So I just want to encourage you, if you are following God and it is hard and it is stressful, just know that you're not alone. All right. Join us next time to hear the second half of RJ and Grace's journey. You're going to want to come back and listen to find encouragement in that, but also stay, because the what is happening story that they share at the end of next episode is wild. All right. Until next time.